WWE RAW, ladies and gentlemen, here to review it with a traditional review this time around. And man, sometimes I wonder, why am I here? I had another moment last night when I said, you know what, why am I watching this? Why am I here? Why am I doing this? WWE RAW, and the only thing that I hold on to is, man, I gotta review this, or I gotta talk about something tomorrow, the next day, on YouTube and on my podcast Thursday. So I watched this jumbled mess. This was supposed to be the show where they ran the big show because the ratings are down and let's do something big. They always do that. And we got that. Goodness, it was worse than last week, WWE RAW was. And I'm about to hop into it. I don't mean to be so negative. I'm not a negative person. But when it comes to that WWE RAW last night, sheesh, Louise, man, what was that? We all started with Vince McMahon. He came out. So Vince comes out. That music hits. No chance. That's what Chuck got. So the fans are popping for the music, whatever. Vince goes to talk, and Roman Reigns interrupts him, and he's talking about how Vince lied to the WWE Universe and how they said the fans would be the authority, and Roman talked about how he was here to stop it. He said he wouldn't take Vince's orders anymore. He takes his orders from the fans, the WWE Universe. So this started a chain of interruptions, annoying interruptions, to where Daniel Bryan comes down. He talks about how he was robbed of the WWE title. Why didn't Daniel Bryan come down on SmackDown? I mean, I don't know why. Vince was gonna be on SmackDown anyways. So that brought out Kofi Kingston. He said that, you know what, I didn't want to have Roman have all the fun. I wanted to come too. He said that Bryan could have came to him with his issues. And you know what, he's right about that. So after all of that, Vince has this haphazard wild card rule, and he's talking about this wild card rule, and it just feels haphazard. Like he says 3 stars from SmackDown can come to Raw at any time, and 3 stars from Raw can go to SmackDown, and it's like the weirdest thing ever. All the guys are quiet in the ring, and Vince is putting this over like it's just this huge plan. And man, I've never seen Vince be, he sounded so out of touch. I've seen him have his out of touch moments before, but man, he had an out of touch moment last night. I'm gonna get more into that. So Drew McIntyre came down. He interrupted it. I talked about how Roman Reigns, ran off to SmackDown to avoid him. And so Vince booked a Reigns versus McIntyre match later on in the night, and he also booked Bryan versus Kofi as well. Vince is talking about how brilliant he is. So that brought down AJ Styles, and that brought down Seth Rollins as well. And they had a bunch of arguing. They wanted to go one-on-one, and Vince gave them some action, said that they would be in tag team action. So, man, like I said, Vince, sheesh, man, he sounded so out of touch. It's crazy, man. Talking about how, I'm a genius, and goodness, that wild card rule was so horrific. Man, you might as well end the brand split. Why not? If you're gonna step out don't dip your toe in the water, go all the way with it. Get in the pool, jump all the way in it. Man, it's just so unappealing, and I don't want to say I don't have any interest in it whatsoever. I'm gonna give it a chance because it's wrestling. I always try to, give it a chance as a fan. But man, it sounds so haphazard and so last minute. Like, it was just not appealing at all, not groundbreaking at all, at least the way that Vince was trying to put it over. So we move on to AJ Styles and Seth Rollins versus Lashley and Baron Corbin. And this match got a lot of time. It wasn't a bad match per se, but after that segment, that opening segment, which lasted over 20 minutes with multiple commercial breaks, it was like, finally a match, and a match that I'm just gonna sit through. So it wasn't a bad match. AJ Styles, Seth Rollins hit stereo tope dives through the ropes before the break, and the action picked up after the break somewhat, but the match ended as only we thought it would. AJ Styles hit a phenomenal forearm accidentally, in quotation marks, on Seth Rollins, and you knew something like that was going to happen. I don't like Seth Rollins taking a clean loss there. No, I'm against that, but it is what it is. I don't like another thing, AJ Styles just walking off. Like, it's totally against this character. Like I said last week, I think it was, it's like they got in the room and said, one of you guys has to play the heel role here. And we didn't necessarily need that to happen. AJ Styles, look, if you gotta go heel with them, like I just said, don't dip your toe in it, go all the way with it. Like, don't just do this haphazardly, go all the way with it, turn him heel. But, I mean, they have him come out as a face, and he's kind of playing the heel role in this feud, and I don't necessarily like it. That's just my opinion. Lastly, Baron Corbin picks up the victory over Rollins and AJ Styles. We'll see how the build with AJ Styles and Seth Rollins goes on from here. So Sami Zayn was out, and he had his normal spiel about the fans and about how unintelligent they were and how ungrateful they were. He was going in on the fans once again. Right as I started to tweet, you know, this is getting really repetitive. Braun Strowman comes out, and well, of course, Braun Strowman comes in and he's ready to fight, and Sami Zayn is ready to fight as well, but Sami Zayn bails, and Braun Strowman chases him down, and he's chasing him backstage. And we get this weird segment where Sami Zayn is throwing stuff at him, and eventually Braun catches up to him, and a dump truck is coming out of nowhere. Braun Strowman throws Sami Zayn into a trash can, and the dump truck picks up Sami Zayn and tosses him in the back of the dump truck. And like, it's like, first of all, what dump truck runs at 9 Eastern? That's, you know, hey, that's my complaint. But here we are with Sami Zayn again, and this is what's gonna go down with Sami Zayn. Like, all of this build up with him going at the fans, and Braun is the guy that interrupts him. Braun doesn't really need this moment. You know, more of an up and coming babyface needs this moment, not Braun. But Sami Zayn's character is just gonna get dumped away literally last night. We'll see how it goes, but I don't have the highest of hopes for Sami Zayn going forward. Lucha House Party faced off with a few jobbers, and the match only went for like 10 seconds. Like, there's nothing for me to break down here. The Lucha House Party picks up the victory with the Shooting Star Press, and like, man, they were just made not to look important at all. Just go out and feel like 10 seconds, guys. Just go out and do that. That's what they did. So, next up, we got Ricochet versus Robert Roode. And we had the Money in the Bank briefcase on the line. Not the Money in the Bank briefcase, but the Money in the Bank spot of Ricochet on the line here. And I cannot for the life of me get why Ricochet would put that on the line. You have a shot at the world title, guaranteed shot. Anytime you want at the world title, you want to put that on the line all haphazardly, just out of nowhere. And it was on the line. Guess that the ratings are down. We need to do something. So they put that on the line. Not much to break down in this match as well. It didn't get any kind of time whatsoever. A lot of matches didn't get time tonight. And I mean, there was a nice moment. Robert Roode hit a nice spine buster, got a 2 count off out of that. But I didn't enjoy this match overall, not because of the guys involved. I love me some Ricochet, I love me some Robert Roode, but it just didn't get a lot of time at all. Ricochet would go on to pick up the win with the 630 for the win, and he keeps this Money in the Bank spot, and Robert Roode moves on to I do not know what in the future with the stash. We'll see how it all works out for Robert Roode. So next up, we had Samoa Joe. He was stalking Dominic, and he got all up in Dominic's face, and he talked about how he came out with Rey Mysterio after Rey Mysterio beat him last week, and he put Rey Mysterio on his shoulders. He said that was a way to embarrass Samoa Joe, and he wanted to have Dominic send a message to Rey Mysterio talking about how Samoa Joe would embarrass Rey Mysterio. And I gotta say, It was a great promo from Samoa Joe, but man, I was expecting Samoa Joe to yoke up Dominic. And when that didn't happen, I was like, man, I thought he was gonna yoke him up and throw him around. I thought Dominic was gonna take a spot, but it is what it is. Samoa Joe with a good promo backstage. We'll see how that goes going forward. Lacey Evans, we had another squash match on hand. Not much to add to this match outside of Lacey Evans hit the women's rights, picked up the victory. Earlier in the show, she invited people down. It was Naomi and Dana, if I'm not mistaken. She invited them down, had sent invitations, and the women were down. It was Naomi, Dana, Alexa, and Natalya. And, it was Naomi and Natalya that got the invites early in the show. But Naomi, Dana, Alexa, and Natalya was down at ringside. And what were they there for? This was the spot that the women got on the show that was to up the ratings. Lacey Evans said that, you know what? If you guys try to cash in on me, you guys will regret it. That brought down Becky Lynch, and they brawled again. Lacey Evans got out of there and ran away, and the ladies were just standing there, doing absolutely nothing, and being there for absolutely nothing. I don't get that whatsoever. Hey, that's just me. Next up, we had the Viking Raiders versus the tag team champions, Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. And I gotta say that this was another match that only went 2 minutes. They didn't get any time at all. It wasn't exactly a squash because Hawkins and Ryder got on the offensive early in the match, but that didn't last very long as well, as the Viking Raiders would take out Zack Ryder for the victory. And what are we doing with Hawkins and Ryder? I understand that it's Hawkins and Ryder, but you put the tag team championships on the guys. They are the champions. At this point, you gotta treat them importantly. And a match that only goes 2 minutes or so, and you have them lose. I like that the Viking Raiders picked up a significant victory over the champs, but you made the champs look really bad there. That's just my opinion. So we had Bray Wyatt's Firefly Funhouse up next, and I cannot believe I'm reviewing this, but Mercy the Dinosaur took out Ramblin' Rabbit. Ramblin' Rabbit is gonna pour out one for the homie Ramblin' Rabbit. He is no more. And this was quite the segment. We had the kids. The funniest part of the segment was the kids at the end of the show. Bray Wyatt talked about how it was picnic time for the kids, and the kids were just standing there with the blankest looks you ever want to see. And Bray Wyatt is just standing there in sunglasses and waving away. I gotta say that the ending, the ending with the kids just staring off into space, that was funny, but overall, I'm just not feeling the Bray Wyatt stuff, man. It's just not interesting to me. It's not entertaining to me. There are people that like it online. There are a hive of people that like it. So kudos to you guys. If you like it, that's fine. But I do not like it overall. It's just not interesting to me whatsoever. I wish the best for Bray Wyatt, though. I hope he makes it work out. He is a very talented individual from a personality perspective. So, you know what? I have hope for the guy. Hopefully he makes it work out. So, next up, we had Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre, and I gotta say that, man, coming off the underwhelming match that was WrestleMania, you know what? I wanted a good match here, and I wanted Drew McIntyre to pick up the victory because Roman Reigns, let's just face it, he doesn't need the victory here. So what we got was a darn good match. Arguably the best match on the show until the end. But we got some pretty cool spots here. We got the reverse Alabama Slam on the apron. I love that move from Drew McIntyre. That guy is heavily talented. And the top rope Superman punch was great as well. Drew McIntyre comes flying off the top rope, eats a Superman punch. The crowd was really into it after that. Drew McIntyre kicked out there. I thought that was the end of the match. Drew McIntyre kicks out and the crowd is just really into it. So it looks like Roman is gonna pick up the victory, but Shane McMahon comes flying in for the disqualification. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. The best, I was really into that match. And Shane McMahon interrupts it, really, man. And he comes out, and Elias is out as well. And they're putting the beat down on Roman Reigns. But The Miz comes out with the babyface saves. And Shane McMahon is running from The Miz. Reigns eats a Claymore. And at least Drew McIntyre stood tall. I will give him that. So that happens. And we cut to backstage. Shane is just running from The Miz. And out of nowhere, Charlie Caruso comes out like the publishing clearinghouse with a microphone and cameras. They're all in Shane McMahon's face. And Charlie Caruso is trying to ask him a question. And Shane McMahon is just trying to hightail it out of there. So he thinks that he hightails it out of there, but he eats a chair shot from The Miz. And they're brawling. And eventually Shane McMahon escapes in the limo. So that was 2 backstage segments, if you count the Brown one as well. And I don't know if they like, you know what, ratings are down. Let's put up some more physical backstage segments, but they ran another one with Shane McMahon. Shane and Elias coming out to end that match, to disrupt that match. I didn't like that whatsoever at all. So next up, we had the Revival in the ring with the Good Brothers. They were interrupted by the Usos, and look, I can just pull out my hair. This was at the point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to give up. I'm going to turn off the TV. The Warriors versus the Rockets was on, and I'm doing this, watching this over one of the best games of the year. And I started to turn off the TV. And we had the Usos on. They had Uzi Hot instead of Icy Hot. They put it in the Revival's gear. We got the dumbest segment ever. And like, we have 3 of the best tag teams in the world in the arena. And this is what you're doing? My goodness, man. Like, yeah, I understand the Revival didn't take their contracts, so they want to punish the Revival. But you're damaging the Usos. You're damaging the Revival when you can just have good television on hand. Or if you want to just punish them, like I said before, just take them off of TV. You're damaging your TV. People are just turning off the TV. You want to continue to have the ratings be low, just keep throwing those segments out. Sheesh, man, this is an embarrassment to the sport of professional wrestling with those guys out there doing that. So moving on, we had Lars Sullivan versus No Way Jose, and this match didn't even get started. Lars Sullivan killed the conga line, and he killed Jose as well, No Way Jose, and that was pretty much it. And like the wild card, as soon as Lars Sullivan came out, I had a string of tweets where there goes the wild card rule. Really, only 3 stars can appear, and it was 6. Bryan, Lars, Elias, Shane, Kofi, and Roman. And I'm like, you introduce a wild card rule and you can't even keep up with it the night of. How pathetic is that? So we had Vince McMahon backstage, and he's on the phone acknowledging the screw up, talking about how, well, Elias and Shane doesn't count. And and Lars, at that point, I'm like, well, that leaves 4, so you still screwed it up. So Lars comes in, and he's intimidating Vince McMahon, and Vince is like, well, you know what? Let's make it 4 superstars that can appear on Raw and SmackDown. And this is just the biggest screw up ever, man. And it is just highly pathetic that they screw that rule up the night of. So we get to the main event, and it is Kofi versus Daniel Bryan. And this was a good enough match, but the commercial breaks really killed it. Like, Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan have phenomenal chemistry, but when you throw all those commercials in the middle of the match, it's tough to really get into. It was a good match. Obviously, it wasn't as good as the WrestleMania match, but we got some pretty decent spots here. The armbar that Daniel Bryan put out I really like that. I'm pretty sure he's going to be using that more going on into the future. The spot where they were both on the outside and Kofi ran up the ropes and hit a top rope, a reverse dive on Daniel Bryan. I like that as well. It was a good match. The crowd was really into it. Daniel Bryan had the Busaki knee miss, and Kofi Kingston would hit the Trouble in Paradise for the win. Excuse me. He retains. They didn't pull a dramatic shift of the belt just to pop ratings. I really appreciate that. Kofi Kingston picks up the victory, and that would be the end of a dreadful Monday Night Raw. And the good spots were very far and few in between. And at the end of the day, man, this was their idea to look at ratings and say, you know what, this is what we're gonna do to pop the ratings. This is what we're gonna do to make things better. Like, do better, WWE. Do better. I'm gonna talk about this more on the podcast, but do better, WWE. Let me know your thoughts, whether that's on Twitter at 2SweetPod, that's the number 2, SweetPod, or at OMGCoreyB, or in the YouTube comments. Let me know your thoughts on WWE Raw and the things that they tried to do to make it better, to pop the ratings.